10 years ago, I lived in a small peaceful village, surrounded by green hills and quiet fields. My name is Emily, and I was only 18 years old at that time. Young, innocent, and full of dreams. Life in the village was simple. People knew each other, helped each other, and gossiped about everything. There was a boy in our village named Alex. He was 23. Tall, confident, and charming. Everyone knew him. Many girls liked him, and honestly, I did too. Whenever he passed by, the girls whispered and smiled. I was shy, but deep down, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Alex had something in his eyes, something that made you believe he cared. He always knew what to say to make you feel special. When he looked at me, I felt like I was the only girl in the world. My heart would beat faster, and my cheeks would turn red. But people in the village often said bad things about him. They said Alex liked to play with girls' hearts, that he wasn't serious, that he could hurt you and leave you behind. My mother warned me many times, "Emily, stay away from Alex. He's not a good boy." My aunt said the same thing, but I didn't listen. I believed they were wrong. I believed my love was strong enough to change him. One Saturday night, there was a dance party in our village. It was a big event. Everyone was talking about it. My friends and I wanted to go so badly, but my mother didn't want me to. She said, "It's not safe, Emily. Stay home tonight." I begged her, "Please, Mom, I'll stay with my friends. I promise." After a while, she finally agreed, but I could see the worry in her eyes. When we reached the party, there weren't many people yet. The music played softly, and the air was cool. Slowly, more people arrived. Then I saw Alex. He looked so handsome in his black shirt. He smiled when he saw me, and I felt my heart stop for a moment. After a while, Alex came over and asked, "Would you like to dance?" I couldn't believe it. My voice trembled as I said, "Yes." We danced together under the lights. During slow songs, he held my hand gently. During breaks, he made jokes that made me laugh until my stomach hurt. For the first time in my life, I felt truly happy, like I was in a dream I never wanted to end. When the party was over, Alex said, "Let's go for a drive. The night is beautiful." I hesitated, but then he smiled that perfect smile, and I said, "Okay." He had a shiny car that everyone in the village admired. We drove through the quiet streets, past sleeping houses and glowing streetlights. The stars sparkled above us, and the soft wind touched my hair. I felt safe, or at least I thought I was. After a while, Alex drove to a lonely place outside the village. There were no lights, no people, only darkness and the sound of crickets. My heart started to beat faster. Not in the good way this time. He stopped the car and looked at me silently. Then he leaned closer and tried to kiss me. I moved back. "No, Alex, I want to go home," I said softly, but he didn't listen. He took my hand roughly. "Come on, Emily. Don't be shy," he whispered. I pushed him away. "Stop, Alex," I said louder this time. His face changed. The smile was gone. He looked angry. "You're so boring," he said coldly. And then, before I could say anything, he opened the car door and pushed me out. I fell onto the ground. The car door slammed, and he drove away. The sound of his engine disappeared into the distance. I was alone. The road was dark. The air was cold, and tears filled my eyes. My house was miles away. I started walking, my legs shaking, my shoes hurting my feet. Every sound in the dark made me more afraid. The wind, the leaves, the barking of dogs far away. It took me more than an hour to reach home. My feet were bleeding, and I could hardly breathe. When I finally opened the door, my mother was sitting there, waiting. She looked at me, and I burst into tears. I didn't tell her everything that night. I just cried in her arms until I fell asleep. My heart was broken. My trust was gone. And I felt like a part of me had died on that empty road. The next morning, my friends told me the truth. Alex had done the same thing to other girls. "You didn't know?" they asked. "Everyone knows." I felt angry and stupid. I thought I was special. I thought he loved me. But I was just another story to him. That night changed me forever. I stopped believing in fairy tales. I learned that not every smile is kind, and not every love is real. But I also promised myself one thing. I would never let anyone break me again. I didn't know it then, but that painful night was the beginning of a new life, a stronger one. 2 years passed after that terrible night. By then, I was 20 years old and ready to leave the pain behind. The village that once felt like home now only reminded me of heartbreak. Every street, every corner, every whisper seemed to carry the name Alex. I needed to start over, so one morning I packed my small suitcase, hugged my mother tightly, and said goodbye. I moved to the city, a place full of noise, lights, and strangers. It was scary at first. The city never slept. Cars honked. People rushed everywhere, and tall buildings blocked the sky. But I told myself, this is my chance to live again. I found a small apartment and a simple job in a bookstore. It wasn't fancy, but I loved it. The smell of books, the sound of turning pages, the calmness of that little shop. It felt safe. Every morning I walked to work through the busy streets, passing cafes and flower shops. Sometimes I stopped to look at the window displays and imagine what my new life could be. One afternoon, as I arranged books on the shelf, the sky outside turned grey. Within minutes, heavy rain started to fall. I didn't have an umbrella. I waited by the shop door, watching people run for cover. Suddenly I saw a man walking toward me. He was tall, with warm brown eyes and a kind smile. He held a big red umbrella. He stopped near me and said, "Do you need some help?" For a moment I froze. There was something gentle in his voice. "Yes, thank you," I said quietly. He smiled again and walked me to the bookstore entrance, holding the umbrella over both of us. His name was Daniel. He worked in an office nearby. Before he left, he said, "Maybe I'll see you again sometime." I didn't think much of it until the next day when Daniel came into the bookstore. He smiled as he bought a small poetry book. "Just something to read on my lunch break," he said. The next day he came again, this time for a novel. Then again and again. It became a routine. He always came at the same time, always with a friendly smile, and always asked, "What should I read next, Emily?" I started looking forward to that moment every day. We began to talk about books, movies, dreams, and life. Daniel told me he had a younger sister who loved to paint. He said he wanted to travel the world one day, to see new places, try new food, and meet people with stories to tell. When he spoke, his eyes lit up. I hadn't realized it yet, but my heart was slowly healing. For the first time in years, I laughed freely. Daniel made me feel like I mattered, not because of how I looked, but because of who I was. A few weeks later, Daniel asked, "Would you like to go for coffee after work?" My heart skipped a beat. "Yes," I said. We went to a small cafe near the bookstore. The air smelled like coffee and fresh pastries. We sat by the window and talked for hours about our childhoods, families, dreams. and fears. When he smiled, I couldn't help but smile back. There was a warmth in him I hadn't felt since. Ever, really. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. We started spending more time together. On weekends, we walked in the park, watched old movies, or went to the museum. Everything with Daniel felt light and easy. He never tried to rush things or make me feel uncomfortable. He never asked about my past, and I never told him, not yet. I wanted this happiness to stay pure, untouched by old wounds. But one day, Daniel stopped coming to the bookstore. At first, I thought he was busy. Then a week passed, then two. My heart started to ache again. The same painful feeling of waiting, of not knowing. I sat by the window every day, hoping to see that red umbrella again, but he didn't come. I didn't have his phone number. I didn't know where he lived. He had simply vanished from my life. Just like that. One evening it began to rain again. I walked home, my heart heavy, my thoughts spinning. Maybe I was foolish to believe again, I thought. The streetlights blurred through my tears as the rain fell harder. Then, as I turned the corner near my apartment, I saw something red in the distance. A red umbrella. My heart stopped. I looked closer, and there he was, Daniel, standing in the rain, waiting outside my building. His hair was wet and his clothes were soaked, but when he saw me, he smiled. "Where were you?" I asked, almost crying. "I'm sorry," he said softly. "My sister was sick. I had to go take care of her." The relief that filled my chest was so strong I almost couldn't speak. "I'm glad you're back," I whispered. He held the umbrella over me and said, "Let's go for a walk." We walked slowly through the rain. The streets were quiet. The city lights reflected on the wet ground. I felt warm inside, even though the rain was cold. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about the past. I wasn't afraid. I just wanted that moment to last forever. The rain, the laughter, and Daniel's gentle voice beside me. That night, I realized something beautiful. Sometimes, love doesn't come when you expect it. It comes when you've stopped looking. In the middle of the rain, under a red umbrella. After that night in the rain, Daniel and I started spending more time together. Something had changed between us. Something gentle but strong. We didn't need big words or promises. Just being together felt enough. Every morning, he would wait for me outside the bookstore with. A year later, Daniel asked me to marry him. We were walking in the same park where we had first gone for coffee. The air smelled like spring flowers. He stopped, turned to me, and said, "Emily, I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want to face it with you." I said yes, without hesitation. Our wedding was small, but beautiful. Just a few friends, some laughter, and lots of love. I remember my mother crying when she saw me in my dress. "You look so happy," she said, and she was right. I was. Daniel and I moved into a small house with a garden. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like home. We planted flowers together, cooked dinner side by side, and filled our days with laughter. Sometimes, when it rained, Daniel would grab our red umbrella and say, "Come on, let's go for a walk." And we would. Just like the night we met, years passed. Life wasn't perfect. We had our share of struggles, like everyone else. But we faced them together. I started writing again, something I had stopped doing long ago. My stories became my voice, my way of healing. Now, as I sit by our window, watching the rain fall gently over the garden, I can see how far I've come. I'm 30 years old now. I have a loving husband, a quiet home, and a peaceful heart. Sometimes, I think back to that young girl who cried alone on a dark road, broken and lost. I wish I could tell her, don't give up. The world is still full of light. Love will find you again. Life has a strange way of teaching us. Pain makes us wiser. Loss makes us grateful. And every ending hides the beginning of something new. I often hear from my old friends in the village. They tell me about Alex, how he never changed, how his life fell apart. I don't feel anger anymore. I just feel sad for him. He had every chance to be kind, but he chose the wrong path. And me? I'm thankful, because if that night hadn't happened, if my heart hadn't broken, I might never have left the village. I might never have met Daniel. I might never have learned what real love feels like. Every time I see the red umbrella hanging by the door, I smile. It's more than just an umbrella now. It's a reminder that sometimes life's most beautiful moments begin in the middle of a storm. I close my eyes and listen to the sound of rain. Daniel calls from the kitchen. Tea or coffee? Coffee, I answer, smiling. As I walk toward him, I realize the past no longer hurts. It built the woman I am today, strong, gentle, and finally at peace. And when it rains, we still walk together. Two people, one red umbrella, and a love that survived everything.